But, they sat him out. And I was listening to Tom Thibodeau after the game last night talking about that. And they asked him specifically, was it a sprained ankle? What's going on? He played 39 minutes against the Lakers. They had that flight back and everything else. So I think Derek's going to be fine. And they also knew that they were getting Alec Burks back. Mm-hmm. And Alec Burks now all of a sudden shows up, and he's been great all year.
Yeah.
And he's been a part of the depth aspect of the Knicks. And this is where depth pays off, especially when you're playing against a team that doesn't have an Embiid or an Antetokounmpo or a Davis or somebody like that in the middle, or Kevin Durant running around out there like a gazelle at 7 feet.
Sure.
So now this guy comes back, and he has his night of nights right when the Knicks needed it most. And it was great. And, and I think, when you took a look at Elfrid Payton and quickly, they couldn't hit a shot. They could not hit a shot at all. And I think they combined for like 22 or 23 minutes. And then Alec Burks all of a sudden takes over at the point, and he looks like he's been playing there all year long. And this is the thing about Tom Thibodeau and maybe even Perry, and it's got to be Leon Rose as well. They have good basketball players. I'm not sitting here saying that they have great basketball players. Maybe Julius Randle's on the cusp of greatness. Maybe R.J. Barrett's on his way to greatness. Who knows what Quickly will be? Who knows what Mitchell Robinson will be long term? But they have a lot of really good seasoned basketball players who are buying into a team-first concept that is like so refreshing for all of us as Knicks fans, especially us older Knicks fans who remember the Red Holtzman Knicks and who remember the Pat Riley Knicks and who remember the Jeff Van Gundy Knicks.
Yeah, I can't remember watching a team every day in New York in recent memory that has so few players that get a lot of minutes or a lot of playing time that you dislike and don't want to see out there. I think the Knicks fan base, basically, of all the people that play, Elfrid Payton is the one guy that Knicks fans have a little bit of a problem with. That's it. Everybody else that plays, you love because they are maxing out what their roles are on this team. Generally, think about it. The Yankees, they're still win 2 out of 3 in Tampa, but there's many guys you could point fingers at.
Oh, God, that was awful.
The Mets, same thing. Guys you could point fingers at even when they're winning. But with the Knicks, there's really nobody to dislike. They're just so good. Everybody produces all the time.
Well, but Thibodeau says this as well. Thibodeau says, defense should never take a night off. And again, they held an NBA team under 100 points. The other night, they gave up 101 or 102 points to the Lakers, whatever it was. But they held the team to under 100 points. And that's what ultimately gets them back into the game. They're a good three-point shooting team. And when Alec Burks starts going off, that's his game. That's who he is. He's really a shooting guard. But last night, I think Thibodeau, as the coach he notices how the game unfolds, and then he plays the hot hand. And that's the true genius of a great coach. I don't care what, look, this is exactly who the Knicks needed as a coach. Because again, you look at their team, and like I said, you have one guy that's on the cusp of greatness in Julius Randle, and he's been consistent all year long. You have R.J. Barrett that's coming along, and he looks like the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
Hit a bunch of threes last night.
Right,
it was good to see.
And we're starting to see, obviously, great performances and production out of him. And then the rest are bit players. They're all bit players, and they all put team first. And your superstar has got to be the leader. I heard R.J. after the game last night talking about Julius Randle and who he is for the team, and they all recognize him as the unquestioned leader of the team, which is got to be music to the ears of Tom Thibodeau, and probably has been the entire season because I think we've been talking about it all year. But this was a huge game, especially after that long trip back, and they were all kind of like sleepwalking in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, the third quarter, it's like they turned a switch on.
Well, yeah, end of the third quarter because things were getting a little ugly there in the beginning of the third quarter, and that's what was scary. You're thinking, all right, long road trip, no Derrick Rose. He's a guy who can provide that spark, and now they came back tired. And also, Julius Randle admitted to scoreboard watching during the game, which was something that I kind of liked because he knows what's going on with the Hawks. He knows what's going on with Miami, and they had to keep pace.
Hey, by the way, have we figured it out now in New York? We can't count on Philadelphia for anything.
Yeah, I know.
You can't. They had just an absolute dud of a performance last night against Miami. Dud. Now you got to hope that Milwaukee can beat Miami. And then the Knicks obviously have to continue here to finish out strong. So I think they're going to win these last 2 games. I felt like all along that they would come home and they would win the 3 games. You said, be 500, maybe 4-2 on the road trip to secure that 4 seed. They're going to do their part here.
Well, everybody
at
else
home.
is winning.
I know that.
Problem.
I know that. They're going to do their part at home. You got to take care of your own business. There's 72 games in a season, and we got to get to the last game. And, look, Miami's got a tough game against Milwaukee. Milwaukee, you would think that they would show up. The problem with Miami is they are now starting to look like the team that we saw in the bubble last year.
Which is what everybody was sort of afraid of. And the Knicks have not played well against the Heat this year. You saw a team last year that figured it out in the most important games and went all the way to the NBA Finals. This is what people were afraid of. Now, the Bucks, I feel like the Bucks are not going to lose a first-round series. That's why I don't want to see them. I think the Miami, as they are picking up steam at this point, I still think they're vulnerable, especially after a long run last year and a short offseason. But yeah, I know that they've won 3 in a row, and offensively they're really good, but I still want Atlanta. I badly want Atlanta. I'm not afraid of the other teams, but the best matchup out of those 3 is hands down the Atlanta Hawks, and I'd love to see that first-round series.
All right, so let me ask you this question in regards to the Milwaukee Bucks. Who would they rather see if they ended up in the 3rd seed in the 6th seed? Well, look, at the end of the day,
the Knicks over the Heat you're talking about?
Yes.
I think everybody would want to see the Hawks first. And they've had a nice year. They have. But they're the most vulnerable team out of the 3. But I think it goes Heat you try to avoid the most, Knicks the second most, and Hawks the 3rd. That's what I would say if I was Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's got
I cannot believe that Philadelphia lost this game.
Lost. They didn't even show up in the game. It wasn't even second quarter. They were down 20-something points.
The only thing you can count on from Philadelphia is maybe a program director, and that's about it.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.